Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒卡中文，我是安博然。Elon Musk is treading on thin ice after making a tongue-in-cheek post on Twitter that boosts the lie that America's fentanyl crisis is somehow China's fault. Musk shared a post from Trump which mentioned the president-elect slapping a 10% tariff on all Chinese goods sold in the US, adding, "Price of fentanyl will rise sharply." But as Musk should already know, the US is just making China a scapegoat yet again to blame for its own drug addiction problems. China sells the precursor to fentanyl all around the world, but guess what? Fentanyl is a very important painkiller used all around the world following surgery and by certain groups such as terminal cancer patients. China sells the ingredients legally and ethically, but, shock horror, it's only the US that has such a massive drug abuse problem. It's time to clear up the crap. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. The word fentanyl has become synonymous with illicit drug use in the United States and the deaths of tens of thousands of drug addicts there every single year. But in actual fact, fentanyl is a legitimate and important pain medication that is used in hospitals around the world every single day. According to the US Drug Enforcement Administration, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid typically used to treat patients with chronic severe pain or severe pain following surgery. Fentanyl is a Schedule II controlled substance that is similar to morphine but about 100 times more potent. Fentanyl is also an important drug for terminal cancer patients, among others, because of its strong pain-killing properties. And China is one of the world's largest producers of the precursor for fentanyl and sells those ingredients legally and ethically all around the world. But, of course, the US, with its massive drug abuse problem, has taken a legitimate and important drug and turned it into a deadly crisis. Some 75,000 Americans died from overdosing on the drug illegally just last year alone. And what does the US do about it? Well, they blame China, of course. Well, they might as well. China takes the blame for every other problem in the US, so why not? President-elect Donald Trump has long blamed his country's opioid crisis on China, and now he's back at it again before even resuming office. He posted on Truth Social saying, "I've had many talks with China about the massive amount of drugs, in particular fentanyl, being sent into the United States, but to no avail. Until such a time as they stop, we'll be charging China an additional 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on all of their many products coming into the United States of America." Now, Trump's stance here is, as I've already mentioned, extremely unfair and misleading. The fentanyl precursors China sells to the US and other countries around the world are completely legal and help in the legitimate production of the drug to then use in hospitals around the globe. Elon Musk then shared the post with his tens of millions of Twitter followers, boosting and spreading the fake narrative that China is to blame for America's fentanyl crisis. It's quite ironic that Trump himself is supportive of the Second Amendment and the right of ordinary Americans to own guns. Now, he'd probably say himself, it's not guns that kill, it's bad people. So why then has that thinking gone out of the window when it comes to drug addicts getting their hands on a legitimate and important drug and using it illegally? Surely the president should realize that the only way to stop the drug crisis in the US is to deal with the root cause of the problem. And ask yourself, why do Americans want or need to use illicit drugs at such a high rate? In October, China's Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning also made a similar point, mentioning that China has already gone above and beyond to help the US deal with its drug problems, but that ultimately they can only really fix it themselves. She said, "Let me stress that the root cause of the overdose lies in the US itself, which calls for more effective measures from the US government." And she is completely right. Again, China sells the precursor for fentanyl all over the world, and it's only the US that has developed a drug crisis. Washington needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror about why that is. Following Donald Trump's announcement of a 10% tariff on Chinese goods, Mao Ning commented again yesterday, saying, China is one of the world's toughest countries on counter-narcotics, both in terms of policy and its implementation. Fentanyl is an issue for the US. In the spirit of humanity, China has given support to the US's response to this issue. As early as in 2019, China officially scheduled all fentanyl-related substances and is the first country in the world ever to do so. China has carried out extensive and in-depth counter-narcotics cooperation with the US, which has been highly productive. This is a clear fact for all to see. China remains ready to continue counter-narcotics cooperation with the US on the basis of equality, mutual benefit, and mutual respect. We hope the US will not take China's goodwill for granted and work to ensure that the hard-won positive dynamics will stay in the counter-narcotics cooperation. I think China should turn around and refuse to sell the precursors to the US if Trump wants to keep playing tough on this issue. That will severely affect the medical system in the United States, which is the single highest opioid prescriber in the entire world. Even when it comes to legitimate and legal usage, the US outranks every other nation on the planet when it comes to opioid consumption. So, President Trump, how do you want to play this? It's time to be honest and to man up. The drug abuse problem in the US is something only you and your country can address. But you need to take the first step and acknowledge you have a problem. Like Manning said, the root cause of fentanyl overdose in the US lies with the US alone. And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the US will finally realize its drug abuse problem is no one else's fault? And should China just stop selling fentanyl precursors to the US altogether? Do let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.